You can watch Arsenal versus Burnley and Man City versus Crystal Palace on Now TV for just €10. So what's stopping you? Putting up more Christmas decorations? Your house already looks like Santa's grotto. A family party? Your Aunt Mary has seen you 4 times this week already. Don't let anything get in your way. To treat yourself to a Now TV Sky Sports Day Pass and watch the games that matter to you for just €10, search Now TV Football today. Content streamed by internet. Full terms at nowtv.com.
This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
Previously on Coffee with Kenobi.
If you had seen the baby Hutt burping and farting and then told me at the end I would get literal chills with Kevin Kiner's music rising as she goes down the steps, come on, man. Come on.
Said, whoa, okay, something must have happened because you got
like, who came in and started working on this show? And it turns out nobody really came in and started working on the show. They just
went from scatological to psychological.
Scatological to psychological, the Clone Wars story.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
There you go, coming to a new podcast feed near you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to show number 136 of Coffee with Kenobi, your place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, rhetoric, and the best travel tips this side of the galaxy. I'm your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of a Disney Cruise Line coffee mug. It is the original one that they made when they started having Star Wars cruises on the Disney Cruise Line. It's got that beautiful shot of the X-Wing swooping in front of the cruise ship. Makes me very happy, and it seemed appropriate considering I am going to get to go on a Disney cruise this December. So, hey, another way to build the hype. I also love building the hype, talking Star Wars with each and every one of you each week. This show is going to be a really fun show. Of course, we want you to think about the mythology of Star Wars in a whole new way and maybe laugh a little bit in the process. Basically, you're among your friends as we go to our favorite coffee shop and we're going to talk some Star Wars. And it's going to be really powerful today because we've got Michael Moreci and Randy Therio on. We're going to talk about some episode 9 casting news. Of course, huge news that broke very recently. And then in our news segment, we're actually not going to have news this week, but Tom is going to be with us and he's going to interview Cole Horton and Liz Heinecke about their new book, Star Wars Maker Lab. It's a great interview. Tom, of course, does an awesome job. And these two were great. And it's fun to hear them talk Star Wars and science. It's a fascinating interview. I think you're really going to love it. And then later on in the show, Mike's going to talk about writing Star Wars. And we're all going to talk about the Clone Wars a little bit more because how can you not? It's such an exciting thing going on in Star Wars these days. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
If you've been reading Thrawn Alliances, you know this is an awesome, awesome book. I'm about halfway through at this point in the recording, and I am absolutely loving it. I don't think we're going to necessarily do something where like we do with Phasma or Leia, Princess of Alderaan, where we talk about the book a little bit at a time. I think I'll probably just do a big roundtable for it once the book is finished. We've given people a chance to peruse it at their leisure. It's a fantastic book, and if you're at all interested in the Clone Wars era, which obviously, again, is a big thing these days, or if you love hearing more about what makes Darth Vader tick, and, of course, Thrawn, when Timothy Zahn writes Thrawn, there's really nothing better. Highly recommend it so far. I also want to ask you, what should we do about the Clone Wars return? Stars.com has something really cool going on where they're going to watch basically 2 episodes a week, and that is something I really like. I'm excited that they are doing that. We need to do something on Coffee with Kenobi. Now, I don't know that we'll have time to do full-blown reviews of every single episode, but I got to tell you, it is a little tempting. So please weigh in and let me know what you'd like to see Coffee with Kenobi do about Clone Wars. I certainly have some ideas. Maybe a little segment on each show, every other show. I don't know. Since we're weekly, we've got some options. So please let me know about that. Next week, I'm hoping to have a review for you of the Star Wars Rebels Blu-ray. I'm enjoying it very, very much. It just came out, and it's wonderful. These documentaries and all the commentaries with Filoni are phenomenal. So be sure to check those out. We will have much more information on them and talk about them on next week's show. I also wanted to be sure and thank Riley Bland from the Star Wars Report for having me on for his recap of San Diego Comic-Con. I love talking to Riley, and we had a good time. So we talked a little bit about Clone Wars because it was shortly after that announcement. And I'd also like to encourage you to check out the latest Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels with myself, Dennis Keithley, Darth Taxis, and Joyce Krebs. Thank you so much to them for having me on. And we talked about all the different Star Wars escape moments, whether it's from comics or TV shows or, of course, the films. And I had a blast with them as well. Be sure to check both of them out. It was very, very gracious of both shows to ask me to come on.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Joining us today for a cup of coffee is author Mike Moreci.
Hey, Dan. How's it going?
It's going great, and you may know him as Michael. That is his authorial name, but here, we're among friends, so we call him Mike. Mike, you have done so many cool things, especially recently, so we're definitely going to hit that. But before we do, I'd like to bring in our other co-host. You know him as the co-host of Legends Library and just an all-around frequent guest and good dude, Randy Therio.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Michael. Good to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
So, gents, let's just jump right into it. Of course, we're going to talk about Clone Wars as well, but recently, actually after the last show was released, we got blockbuster news about Episode 9 casting. Now, naturally, there are a number of things here. To me, there are three main points. The first, that Mark Hamill they sort of did it without any ceremony. I mean, I guess that's not true, but they didn't highlight the fact that Mark Hamill is in the movie, but they just put him there as a listing of the cast, right? So I like that, but we're going to talk about that too. And so there's that. There's the fact that this is the end of the Skywalker saga, for sure. And then we've got the news that Carrie Fisher is going to return. Now, this is all juicy stuff, but Mike, what do you want to hit first on this?
Do you want to talk about Billy D coming back at all?
Oh, sure, for sure. Well, we kind of talked about him already.
Oh, you did? Okay,
let's talk about show, but this is more. There's some more shockers here.
Yeah, let's. I mean, obviously, I think. I don't know if I kind of expected Mark Hamill to be back. I figured we see. I guess it depends on the extent of how much we're going to see. Jedi Ghost Luke. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling it's going to be the most extensive usage of knowing. I feel like JJ has stuff that he'll want to do, and I think that this will be, like I said, the most extensive usage of a Jedi Ghost that we've encountered in any of the movies yet. And I actually look forward to that. I think that Rey, now that Rey and Luke have come to really different places than they were from the beginning of Last Jedi to the end, I think they're ready to forge a pretty cool relationship, and I want to see that personally.
Randy, what about you? We'll just talk about Mark Hamill first. So go ahead. What do you think about Mark Hamill?
I think it's super cool. I like the idea that they might have Luke and Yoda in the same scene. And when we saw Yoda,
what makes you think that? That sounds like speculation, Randy.
I know it is. It's straight speculation. But when we saw Yoda in The Last Jedi, he just was such a huge presence as far as just screen presence. And what that makes me think of is just what an amazing job that was done in Return of the Jedi when Obi-Wan and Yoda were in the same screen having dialogue with Luke. And I just thought that I never had considered before that was done so well, with two characters that were kind of Force ghosts. And
that was beautiful, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it wasn't until you brought up the idea that Luke is coming back, then I thought, well, who else could be back in that? Is it going to be a whole council of former Jedi or Jedi passed away that will be influencing or not influencing, but teaching Rey? Or so there's all kinds of potential there. But the fact that Frank Oz wasn't really mentioned, but Mark Hamill was, I thought it doesn't get more official than that, so it's kind of a bummer that it would have been nice to have that surprise, kind of like, the Yoda surprise, oh, there's Yoda, but it's still cool. I'd rather have him.
Sure.
Yeah. I'd rather have him in the movie, and surprise or not, I'd take more Mark Hamill because I think he did such an amazing job in The Last Jedi.
I legitimately think, without bias, that he should have gotten at least a nomination for supporting actor, but it didn't happen. But it's not a big deal. I mean, it was a masterful performance. And to me, the news isn't that Luke is in this movie. The news is that we're finding out that Luke is in this movie because this is J.J. Abrams making this movie.
Right.
He's already decreed is an interesting, strong choice of words, but he's already said that you can't have camera phones on the set because that's how intense the secrecy is going to be. So I kind of like that they've done this because they're basically saying, look, we know you're expecting Mark Hamill. We know you're expecting Luke. So we're just going to flat out put it out there. It's not going to be a big surprise, but what he's going to do and how he's going to appear and what's going to happen, that is. So it's kind of interesting and kind of refreshing that we don't have to have that. And Hamill himself has tweeted that he's glad he didn't have to deny it for a year and a half, and he can just flat out say, yeah, I'm in episode 9 next. Yeah. So that's an interesting approach, but I like it. So let's move on to the fact that this is the end of the Skywalker saga. We'll hit the Carrie Fisher section last, of course, but Randy, we'll start with you on this. The end of the Skywalker saga, that kind of hit me like a sucker punch for some reason. What did you think of that?
Isn't it like it? I mean, just saying it right now, isn't it just a little bit of a pit in your stomach? Like, how long have we desired to have the end of the story, but not the end? You know, like, I mean, of course we want the story to be complete, but not so complete that it's complete. I don't want to see Luke for the last time anywhere. I don't want to see. I mean, I do want to see the other stories that are going to be presented, the other parts of the timeline that are going to be presented. I'm glad for like a fresh new take on a new era, and that's really cool because I do think that this original trilogy era is really being I don't know if saturated is the right word, but it's being split very thinly.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot.
Yeah, but I mean there is. That's your Luke. That's my Luke. That's Luke Skywalker from, from the very first, him running to answer Aunt Beru as she calls out, Luke, and he looks over the edge, down into the homestead, and like that's the beginning, and that we're actually going to see the end, and to see his, Force spirit fade away, or say goodbye. Seeing him as a Force spirit, kind of like at the end of Return of the Jedi all over again. I guess nothing really is over in Star Wars, and nothing's ever done in Star Wars, but still to say goodbye to Mark Hamill, or to say goodbye to, the Luke Skywalker or the Skywalker lineage as a complete work. It's going to be a bittersweet end, I think. I don't know how they could end it. I don't know. I'm glad it's not me. I'm glad I'm a spectator and not a participant, because that's incredible.
Yeah. Well, Michael, you mean, let's say that you were the one who was writing the script. I mean, that's pretty daunting, but what does that mean to you that it's the end of the Skywalker saga?
It's all the things Randy said, but I'll tell you what, I think this is like the best thing that's going to happen to Lucasfilm, kind of, I think this is, from a writing perspective, as you mentioned, I don't know if this was ever a winnable situation, in a sense that there's always, you can never handle it. So, I mean, there's so many passionate fans, you're never going to handle it in a way that, fans are happy. And I think we've seen that rear its head the last couple of years, but
I've heard rumors. Yeah.
But, I think closing the book on the Skywalker saga might be the best thing that's going to happen to Star Wars. And I wanted to do it the right way. And I've been happy with the movies personally, but it's probably time to functionally and creatively get a fresh start in some regards. I want to see, I would be kind of heartbroken if we see, is this the end we see of the new characters, especially Rey? I feel like there's a lot, logistically, we've only seen 2 weeks of Rey's life when you think about it, which is
true.
Yeah. So, I want to see a lot more of Rey from this. And I hope, I think that's what, where we'll go at some point, seeing what is new, born out of the ashes of the Skywalker saga, and she'll be front and center in that. But no, I just think that this is, it's time for Lucasfilm. It's time for the fans. It's time for everybody to, close out this saga and realize there's more to Star Wars, and start turning over the stones that are across this universe, storytelling wise.
I like that you said turning over the stones, because that was a little metaphorical.
All right.
I'm inclined to agree with that in a way. I mean, I agree with both of you. I mean, I just like you said, Randy, when I said it out loud, I was like, oof, wow. And when I read it, I remember standing, in my garage reading it off my phone, because I got an update from Lucasfilm that said, check this. And so I checked it and I read it and I was like, oh, but I'm glad. I'm very glad, because nothing is as troublesome to me as a person who likes and studies and analyzes story and storytelling as stretching something on or telling parts of the story just to make money or just to add more that isn't needed or necessarily needed to complete, right? I want a beginning, I want a middle, and I want an end. And that's one of the reasons why I like the Harry Potter franchise. That's why I like Lord of the Rings. They wrap it up. And this doesn't mean it's the end of Star Wars, of course, and no one thinks that, I wouldn't think. But it just means it's the end of this Skywalker saga, meaning it's focused on someone in the Skywalker family, right? We had Anakin, we have Luke, and now we've got Luke and Ben. I mean, Ben is a Skywalker, right? He's a Solo, but he's also a Skywalker. So I just think it's cool that they're also adding a lot of weight to Episode 9, because I'm sure that, because even though we love Solo, I'm sure Disney wanted people to love Solo even more financially. So they've got 18 months to wait, which will be great. I'm very happy about the wait. So I think it's almost necessary and almost essential. I think it's a win. So the Carrie Fisher news, I'm going to start on this. I could not be happier or more pleased, quite honestly. And I don't want to be hyperbolic, but I do think this is kind of miraculous, because I didn't want her to be recast. I had a feeling that something like that might happen. I guess I don't know that I feared it, but I just thought, well, it's inevitable. How can you have Episode 9 without Princess Leia, without General Organa? And I guess it crossed my mind that maybe there's footage out there, but it wasn't really something. It was more like a transient thought. It wasn't something that ever took any weight or anchored in, because it was never discussed. It was like, well, maybe we won't have her in, or maybe she'll be off camera, or we'll recast her, blah, blah, blah. So the fact that they have this footage that they're using, and, maybe there's stuff from The Last Jedi they can use too that wasn't in the official announcement. I don't know. And actually, later this week on the latest Looking at Lucasfilm with myself and Jim Hill, which you can find on the Disney Dish Podcast Network, Jim talks a little bit more about this, because he has some information about this, which I will let people go over there and listen to, because we don't do the spoiler thing here. But I'm very, very happy. You can't have Episode 9 and the end of the Skywalker saga without Princess Leia in some way, shape, or form. And I think it's beautiful. Mike, what about you?
No, I agree. I agree. It's tough. I mean, like, the options that you're presented with are, recasting, which is awful. Writing her off screen somehow, which is equally bad. So it's a good thing they have this footage. It's a good thing they can creatively, fashion it into a way that gives her as proper of a send off as possible. Because we know what's inevitable for Princess Leia's character, but having her in the film to, whatever shape and form that takes, I think is meaningful and important. And I'm delighted that they have the resources, that they have this footage and they can do something with it. So it's a big win for the story, and it'll be nice. It'll be nice for all of us, I think.
Randy,
I think I'm of course happy to get more Carrie, but if it's one of the things I'm concerned about is, like, if this is footage from The Force Awakens, I don't know about you guys, but just the imagery and the cinematography of Carrie Fisher in The Last Jedi is so beautiful, and it's so elegant. And I think if you remember when we were talking about The Last Jedi in our big roundtable discussion with all the podcasters on the Coffee with Kenobi network, we were all talking about the moment. I know I was thinking about the moment and talking about the moment where Luke or where Mark Hamill kissed Carrie's forehead, and how beautiful, and how, we didn't know she was going to pass away, but what a poignant moment in cinema history, that was. And so, of course, I want more Carrie. Of course, I don't know how how J.J. Abrams could possibly frame it in such a beautiful way that Rian Johnson framed that scene. And just her looking over the collar of her cloak is so stunning. It's so beautiful in her eyes and the intensity. And so if we never got more Carrie, I would have been happy with that imagery.
Sure.
But,
I agree.
Yeah. But, just to get more, I don't know what footage they could have that would be as remarkable and memorable as the footage that Rian Johnson got in The Last Jedi.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up that specific moment, because I agree that what a beautiful send-off. But the good news is that won't go away, because it's the last time that Luke and Leia talked, right? I mean, so we're not going to see banter, between Hamill and Carrie Fisher per se, but I don't think that's needed. That was a lovely send off, and well said, Randy. Well said.
Well, yeah, if I may interrupt, I'm sorry. What if we end episode 9 and she's still alive? I mean, how amazing would that be?
I don't know. That would be awesome.
Just that you don't actually have to kill Carrie off. Everyone else dies, but Carrie survives.
No idea. Yeah,
that would be great. I think that'd be awesome.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Not sure.
Okay.
Difficult to see, the future is.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a break. And later in the show, we're gonna talk more with Mike about his writing and get both of these fine friends of ours to weigh in on the Clone Wars. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Thrawn Alliances and Most Wanted to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouse.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now. We're going to do things a little bit differently for this week's Patreon read, but before we do that, I want to thank our CWK Patreon contributors: Ben Elkington, Rebecca Raven, Dennis Keithley, Terry Lee, Lieutenant Law, Aaron Harris, Chris Skavarka, Angela Sauce, Mediocre Jedi, Lucas Works, Christo Hading, Chris Metz, LJ Souter, Thea Selby, Jeff Ellis, Daz Davies, Christian Dale, Jason Hall, Brian McKinney, Connie Shee, Mike Audette, Jared Cantor, BJ Smith, Eric Struthers, Nick Deco, and Mark Suter. Your contributions mean so much to me and help our show in so many ways. I can't ever thank you enough, and it's just so awesome that Patreon even exists. And because it exists and because you're so generous with your time and your contributions, we want to do things that you feel not only help the show, but help you too, get you a little pickup for the day or just kind of reward you for being a member of our Coffee with Kenobi family. And the thing that I'm the most proud of and the most excited about is CWK Pour Over. For $5 or more a month, you get access to CWK Pour Over, which is our exclusive podcast with myself, Tom Gross, and Corey Clubb. And I used to mention at this point what we talked about during this show, but I think we're going to do something a little bit different. As I said at the start of this read, I'm going to give you a small clip from each week's show just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on. So if you're a little bit interested in this clip is something that you think, oh, I'd like to hear a little bit more of that, then all you have to do is log on to www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi and sign up right there. Here is this week's clip. By the way, this week we talked about Fortnite, which of course is a very, very popular game. And if you have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about, or maybe you just like playing it yourself too, which is awesome. And then we end the show by talking about working out and what motivates us. It actually got really heavy and pretty personal, and I really was proud of where the conversation went. And it makes me admire Tom and Corey so much to hear them open up like that. And it's just very, very powerful. But the clip I'm going to show you, or actually the clip I'm going to play for you, is when we talk about Fortnite a little bit. And Tom is wondering what the heck we are talking about. So here's the clip.
Okay, I need to do a timeout here.
Okay.
I've seen the game played. I've looked over the shoulders of kids playing it. No one in my house plays it, myself included.
That's probably
But your wife doesn't play it?
No.
I don't know. Maybe she's...
No. So there's one term you're using that just keeps throwing me for a loop because I've seen it's a first-person shooter, right?
It's almost like
the third person.
GoldenEye or
third person. Sorry, third person.
It's like GoldenEye or,
okay, but you keep saying dance moves.
Yeah, they're taunts.
Yes.
So,
yes. Look up flossing.
Yeah, look up flossing. That'll envision you doing a floss dance. I can see
when I go to the dentist, and
when you see it, you're gonna say, "Oh, if you've ever seen a kid like on a jumbotron at any game, they're doing the floss."
Well, that's just this dance. I mean, this is for this week. It could be something next week. You never know.
Again, just a little bit of a sample, but I think it's important because this is a great show. We have the best time recording it, and we'd love for you to listen to it and tell us what you think. And besides CWK Pour Over, Patreon contributors can get coffee mugs, t-shirts. They have access to our Discord channel, so many cool things, plus CWK Lens, where you can hear me talking behind the scenes about things and showing you some video from behind the scenes travel that we do for Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to go to www.patreon.com/Coffee with Kenobi and sign up today. The end of summer is rapidly approaching, and as a teacher, I know that means I'm going back to school, which I'm very excited about. However, that doesn't mean I don't need a little extra help getting up in the morning, which of course means I've got to have my One Nation coffee every morning. It's my absolute favorite coffee. It smells amazing and tastes even better. The guys there are awesome too, and you've got a high-quality product with high-quality people making it who actually care about their product and their customers. Be sure to go to www.onenationcoffee.com to sign up for a coffee subscription and to get your morning started off the right way.
So we're here with Johnamarie, and I am really extra excited because we just got an incredible announcement we have not announced on Coffee with Kenobi. So why don't you tell everybody what the big news is?
The big news is that Clone Wars is coming back. It's been saved, it's no longer canceled, and it's amazing.
And Dave kind of, he's so great as, at teasing us and sort of getting us on certain paths and then yanking the rug under us. And he talked about I always get hashtags, but Clone Wars is saved. Hashtag save Clone Wars.
Yes, and I'm so excited to be able to use that now because it's, social media nowadays, it's all hashtags. You got to use the hashtags. So yeah, Clone Wars saved, use it, put it out there because we want them to know that this is something that we want and we want to have more of it.
So people have asked me a lot already, what am I most excited about? What are you most excited about for the potential of this series?
All the Rex, all the Captain Rex.
Why did I even ask that question?
That's just when I heard his voice at the very beginning of that trailer, I knew that this was going to be good. But yeah, I'm excited to see more of him, more of the team interacting with each other, and especially that Siege of Mandalore. Everyone's been craving that arc.
Yeah, like I was talking earlier, the nice thing about this is that as much as I love reading it in a novel, I think this is such a visual medium that we need to see it live. Like, we need to see it animated out. I want to see Ahsoka fighting Darth Maul, that like they were for doing the Ahsoka novel. I want to see the Siege of Mandalore. I want to see when they reunite because we know that they did, and now we're going to see it play out. And I think it's going to add even more to Rebels too.
Oh, yeah, for sure, especially with the interaction between Anakin and Ahsoka. It's just going to really enhance what we saw in that Season 2 finale, so I'm super excited. Everyone's excited. I still feel the energy, and my hand is still shaking.
Legit, I feel like my arms are tingly. I don't think I'm having... If I fall down, just give me an aspirin, call an ambulance. Thank you so much for being on Coffee with Kenobi.
Thank you so much.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects, top-notch narrators, and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From Han Solo to C-3PO to Admiral Akbar, you'll recognize all of your favorite characters. Listen to movie tie-ins like The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, to book titles such as Thrawn Alliances and Most Wanted, to classic audiobooks like William Shakespeare's Star Wars. With Star Wars audiobooks, you'll have plenty of Star Wars listening to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now. Something really, really awesome happened the other day that made my life a lot easier. The older boys needed razor blades. It was time to change their blades on the razor. And fortunately, because of my subscription to Harry's Razors, I have a bunch of them because Harry supplies me consistently with the blades I need, so I don't have to run out and try to grab them and never have to worry about, oh gosh, I can't shave because I don't have enough blades. It's all there, and now they have it too. And fortunately, earlier I ordered extra razors for them because of this experience that I thought was going to happen. So it's great, and that's why I love shaving with Harry's. They stand behind the quality of their blades, but they know that switching razors is not an easy decision. So they've created a trial offer. You can claim yours by going to harrys.com/CWK family. Harry's delivers a close, comfortable shave at a fair price. Harry's founders were fed up with overpaying for expensive razors with unnecessary features. They knew a great shave comes down to great blades made with sharp, durable steel that lasts. I mean, that is what you need when you are going to get a razor and get a good shave. And that's why they bought a factory that's been making some of the highest quality blades in the world for over 95 years. By selling directly to you over the net, Harry's can offer their blades at a price much lower than the leading brand, just $2 per blade compared to $4 or more a month that you're going to pay elsewhere. And there's a quality guarantee. If you don't love your shave, let Harry's know within 30 days and they'll give you a full refund. Now I'm going to give you the details of this trial offer. You're going to get a $13 value trial set that comes with everything you need for a close, comfortable shave. A weighted ergonomic handle, a 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel, and a travel blade cover. Listeners of my show can redeem their trial set at harrys.com/CWK family. Make sure you go to harrys.com/CWK family to redeem your offer and let them know I sent you to help support the show.
Hello, and this is Tom, your Coffee with Kenobi newsman, and I'm joined with the authors of the new Star Wars Maker Lab book, 20 Craft and Science Projects. I've got Liz Heinecke and Cole Horton with us. Welcome.
Nice to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited about this book. As a school librarian, I'm very well acquainted with the maker movement in libraries and getting kids activated in there, and then the STEM movement in education, the STEM and STEAM movement in education. And I have just single-handedly watched the impact of taking these projects and these crafts and watching students create on their own and watching them grow and watching them get excited. And some of my favorite experiences are where students take these projects, any of the STEM or maker projects, and then they make something different or make something of their own from it. So I am so excited about this book because anytime, in my eyes, anytime you tie Star Wars into something that is educational, I love it. So Liz, you have several other books on the STEM and maker topic, as well as a website, kitchenpantryscientist.com. How did you get into the maker and STEM movement?
Yeah, so I have always loved science, and when I was first out of school, I worked in research labs for 10 years, got a master's degree, and then started doing science. When I had kids, I started doing science with them and blogging about it. And so I literally, I had 3 little kids at home. I did not want to go to the grocery store with the 3 of them. So there wasn't that much online at that time. So I sort of started looking at what experiments were around and figuring out how to do them with things that I already had around the house, and blogging about that. And I also have an art background. I was an art major in college before I went more into science. So I loved bringing the creativity into the science because I think it's a great on-ramp for kids who might not otherwise be all that attracted to science and math to, like you said, to take a project, but make it creative, make it their own, figure out how they can take it in a direction that interests them.
Yeah. So are your children guinea pigs for a lot of the projects then?
Oh, Oh, they're not only guinea pigs. I mean, they have helped me come up with a lot of the projects. So that's been really cool. We've sort of created some projects together on our own. For example, I don't know if at Halloween you've ever done the thing where you cut gummy worms into skinny strips and you soak them in baking soda and water and then you drop them into vinegar and they wriggle around. That, like, my kids and I made up that experiment. My son made a YouTube video. It got like crazy hits and now it's all over the internet. So, and I was doing a diffusion experiment in Jell-O, like really skinny things with cookie cutters. And my daughter said, those look like those window gel things. And so we stuck them on the windows and then, so my kids often sort of, add the great kid innovation stuff to the projects that I'm working on.
Oh, that is cool. And one thing that I really like about the movement, and just we don't even have to call it a movement, I don't think so much anymore, because it's so ingrained into our educational system. But one thing I really like about this is the aspect of failure. I know when I'm doing these, I screw up on them all the time. And I love that my kids see me mess it up, because then it's that opportunity to say, okay, what didn't work? And you go back and you do it again. Have you experienced that as well?
Yeah, and that's really, I would say, one of the most important things about letting your kids do science and, whatever projects at home. Because at school, there's, so if you work in the library, you get this, the teachers are awesome, but they have time constraints, they have financial constraints, they can only do so much. But when kids are at home, they really have time to fail and then try different ways to approach problems, and they have time to sort of say, what could I do next? And then take the project in another direction. So I think just having that time at home and have no one's watching them. At school, they're under so much pressure to succeed. And at home, no one is watching, so they can just try whatever they want.
Yes. Now, Cole, you've been on Coffee with Kenobi before, but tell us a little bit about your how you came to writing about the Star Wars galaxy, which is, I'm guessing in this book, is your contribution.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I got started really thanks to StarWars.com, an opportunity that came to me thanks to some people I had met at Star Wars Celebration over the years by going to that convention. That got me in the door at StarWars.com, and I did a series on that website for about 2 years called From World War to Star Wars, which was all about the parallels between World War II and Star Wars. And then in the lead up to The Force Awakens, there was a huge publishing push, and they were looking for more people to work on the various Star Wars books. And I just got lucky that I was working on StarWars.com, and they needed people who knew the universe, and I got to work on Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know. So that came out in 2015, was my first book, and since then I've worked on 7 or 8 more now, including some that are going to come out in the future. But I've been very lucky to keep getting invited back.
That is fantastic. And I know that we have your Everything You Need to Know book in our library, and it is constantly being looked at, checked out. And it's so full of factual information, some of it really out there that, a common fan would know. And some of it things that are so obscure that even an experienced fan and someone who's been following the saga for 40 years can go, oh, wow, I guess I knew that, but I kind of forgot. I have a lot of those experiences.
Yeah, that's the real trick. You want to create something that the new people can enjoy. And in a lot of ways, that's what that book was for, right? We were trying to catch people up before everybody went to theaters that year and saw The Force Awakens. But we also know we've always got those hardcore fans who are looking for every last new detail. And I always try to hide some things like that in there for them.
Yeah. And so I appreciate your writing in that and all the other projects you do for Star Wars. So where did the idea of tying Star Wars and Maker come from? And then how did the two of you come together in collaboration on this project?
I mean, really, it happened before we were brought together. This idea was hatched by the editors at DK Publishing and Lucasfilm. DK, of course, does a whole series of Maker Lab books, and Lucasfilm, of course, makes Star Wars books. And by the time we heard about this project, the idea had already been hatched. And at that point, Liz and I got introduced, of course, Liz having done all of her projects and me having done Star Wars, that's kind of how we split up the responsibilities, science and Star Wars. And we just worked with the editors at DK to start coming up with cool projects. I know, Liz, you came up with dozens and dozens of possible ideas.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun because I've always loved the Star Wars movies, so I was familiar with the territory, not like Cole is, but I came up with a bunch of ideas and then send them to the editor, and then Cole would say, well, what if, this would be cool too. What if we did something with this? I was thinking, this thing would be cool. So between the two of us and the editors, and then, Lucasfilms had ideas about, it'd be really cool if we could have, a BB-8 project or whatever. So we all really collaborated extensively to come up with the final projects that are in the book. And we were very cognizant of, safety, and like you said, having a really creative aspect so you could take a project and make it and take it in several different directions.
And one aspect I liked about the book itself, and when my daughters and I sat down to kind of look at the book and see what did we want to do, what really jumped out at us, one thing that we noticed right away was at the beginning of each project is a difficulty meter, and we really appreciated that. And so when we chose ours, we chose a tricky one, of course, and then we did a medium one, and I'm trying to remember what you called the one Yoda stamp. Just, is it easy or? I'm flipping through looking for one. Of course, now I can't find one.
I'm trying to remember which one
to see what the language is. But I loved the, it is easy. But I loved your choice on the 3 Yoda projects from that.
Yeah.
That is that hard, because that might turn to my eyes, that might turn some kids away and say, oh, that's a hard one. I don't know that I can do that. But tricky, meaning, yeah, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some creativity. It's going to take everything in there, but I can do this. And I really appreciate your language that you put into there. Now, I was going to ask the question on the kind of the chicken and the egg question, as far as what came first, the project idea, or was it a Star Wars? Was it a Star Wars object or item that was put out there, and then, okay, now we need to come up with a project for that? But it sounds like everyone was collaboratively throwing in, including the publishers and both of you.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to separate out. So, for example, the lightsaber duel that you do with pen lights was my dad is a physicist, and he had told me, well, this is really cool. You can shine a light through water in a fish tank, and you can't see it. But then if you add a drop of milk to it, it reflects the water. You can see it. It's kind of, you can learn why sunsets are red. But I had done that in my first book, Kitchen Science Lab for Kids, but I thought, wow, how cool would that be if we could make different colored lightsabers in the water? And so some of them were projects that I was familiar with, but it was really fun to think about all the science projects I know from over the years and like, how could we make this Star Wars-y?
That is cool. And Liz, I'm to understand that you're no stranger to Star Wars.
No, so I'm older than Cole. I'm just going to put that out there. I was probably, I don't know. I can't remember my age. I was probably like 10 or 11 when the first movie came out. So I was sitting in the theater when that first movie came out and fell in love with Star Wars, and went to get Darth Vader's autograph, later that year, and have seen every movie since. Except for I haven't seen Solo yet because I've been waiting to go with my son, and we haven't found time to go together yet. It's really been a thing. We go to the movies if they're over the holidays. We go to the movies when my parents come to town because it's a thing that our family has been doing together for years, which also makes it super special. So I was just thrilled to be able to work on a Star Wars project because it's been so meaningful, throughout my whole life to go to these movies.
Cole, out of curiosity, what do you have, if you go back, what was the launching moment for you in the Star Wars universe? What brought you to the galaxy?
For me, it was toys originally. I after some Christmas was in a Toys R Us. May they rest in peace now.
Man.
But in a Toys R Us, and I turned the corner, and there was a Galoob Stormtrooper playset, which I still own. And there was something about this Stormtrooper, I didn't know what it was. And I, used my own money and bought it. And then I soon got the movies, and I watched them out of order because I didn't know any better. And, as a kid, things come and go, right? Your interests change, and you kind of get distracted by the next thing. But Star Wars didn't go. It just came and never left. And I never really grew out of it. And now I just do it professionally.
Awesome. I love hearing people's sort of origin stories to the Star Wars universe. So thanks for sharing that. So I have to share with you the projects that my daughters and I did. And I don't know if it's like hearing what your kid has done once they've grown up. And so let me share with you.
I'm super curious. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me share with you what we did. And then I'm going to ask you what your favorite projects are in the book, or maybe each of you can share a favorite project. But so here's what we did. We chose 4 projects in digging through the 20 of the projects, and we have one in progress right now because it takes several days, and that is the Kyber crystals. I have my youngest daughter loves gems, and really both my daughters love gems and geology and all of that. So I thought, this is going to be perfect. And we had a lot of fun putting that together. So now we have 3 glasses sitting on the counter or the kitchen, crystallizing. So that one is in process. And then today we did the Death Star super laser. I'm just going to say that was so much fun. And the best part was when the first one went off, all the dogs in the backyards were just going crazy. All of our neighbors' dogs were going crazy. They must have all been out. It was just so cool to load those balloons up with the powder and the glitter, and then to get out there. And what was funny is the first one we did, we must have stood there 5 minutes waiting for that balloon to pop, but it finally did. And then for some reason, our second 2 were like almost instant. So I don't know if we were they were about an hour apart. One was around 10:30 in the morning. The other one was closer to noon. And so I don't know if the angle of the sun brings more energy or what it was, but they blew up, and we videotaped it, and we did slow motion. We did slow motion on the videotape. So if I get that together, I'll put that out there so you guys can see it. But we're also going to work on the gliding speeder and the Ewok catapult. And one thing that I like about the projects that you have in here, and you've mentioned this, is that all the materials are either right at hand at home, or they're super inexpensive and easy to find.
Yeah, that's important. Because that's always been important to me for the experiments I've done in my books, because I think science should be accessible to everyone. And I also believe, I'm a big believer in sort of reusing and recycling things. So lots of these, the gliding speeder, you can use your old CDs for that. And lots of things use recycled bottles, and, paper mache, you're using newspaper strips. So.
Yeah. And we've been saving the toilet paper tubes for the gliding speeder as well.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, Cole, do you have a favorite project in the book?
Yeah, for me, it's Jabba Slime, which is a slime experiment that I suspect some of your readers have done. Slime's super popular these days, I hear. But, our version of it is green and disgusting because it's Jabba slime. And for me, it's just fun to be able to write about all the obscure things. And in the case of Jabba, right, there's the things you might say about him, but I wanted to bring in some of the background about the Hutts in general and the criminal cartels. And so that was my chance to put something in there about the Hutt Council and some of the other nasty, slimy Hutts from the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, that was great. Love that. And as I mentioned, that was a great tie-in when the Clone Wars were coming back. Like, oh yeah, look at that. That explains a little bit more about those the Hutts. Is there anything else in the book, Cole, Star Wars wise, that you thought was just such a wonderful, came together, great tie-in to something that you were really passionate about in the Star Wars galaxy?
Well, one I didn't expect was the Gungan Globe of Peace. If you remember from the very end of episode 1, Boss Nass holds up that glowing orb. And, I never thought I'd have to write more than just a passing reference to that ever. But in this case, we had an experiment, which was, what was it? It was ice spheres with an LED in them, I think.
Yeah, so you just basically your kids make a water balloon and stick them in the freezer, but you don't let it freeze solid. You pour out the liquid water in the center, and then you put glow sticks in it, and it looks amazing.
Oh, I am looking at that right now.
Yeah, we had this really cool experiment and this project, and I said, all right, that could be the globe of peace. I remember putting that down on paper, and we were kicking around early ideas, and then later on, I realized, oh no, I have to write multiple facts about the globe of peace. Right now, what am I going to say to fill up 3 pages on this globe, which you see for, 4 or 5 seconds at best? So that was one of the challenges, sort of wrote ourselves into a corner there, but I'm glad we did because it's a really cool experiment. And again, it's one of those, really sort of obscure things that people might have forgotten about.
Yeah, I see that the craft itself, or the project itself, is a difficulty labeled 1 Yoda easy, but maybe the writing for it should have been more up in the 3 Yodas tricky.
That's right. It was definitely a 3 Yoda writing project.
And Liz, how about you? A favorite project in the book?
Oh man, I like so many of them. I really like the busy worker droids, I have to say. I've had so much fun this past year, building bristle bots. So basically, and this is one where you have to spend a couple dollars online on a little toy motor, unless you could find something else to take it off of, I guess. But just took a little spinning motor, stick an eraser or something to throw it off balance. You hook it up to some batteries using alligator clips, and you attach it to a sink brush or a toilet brush or something, and it scoots around the house. You can, the book has these great templates that kids can use to you basically build a box to go over it. So it looks like one of the mouse droids, the worker droids from the Star Wars movies. And maybe I like that because that was, one of my favorite memorable moments from the first Star Wars movie I saw was when that mouse droid gets scared by Chewbacca. But I think that's a great tech project. I think with today's technology, I think it's really great for kids to learn how to hook up a circuit and see how electrons flow, and then it has a really cool, fun result. But if you want to scare your dog, I would really recommend you do the gliding speeder it's the hovercraft one. My dog will chase those around the floor and try to bite the balloon. So I would recommend that one for your dog.
Oh, that just sounds like good entertainment right there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, so are there any professional projects you have in the works right now that you can talk about that are new to Star Wars or just new into your world?
Cole, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I'm allowed to talk about. I think I have a handful of books coming out later this fall. Oh, actually, one was just quietly announced at San Diego Comic-Con this weekend. So I worked on an update to the Millennium Falcon 3D Owner's Manual, which was done by Ryder Wyndham a few years ago. And I got to work with artists Chris Reif and Chris Trevis to re-update that book and, bring it up to speed with all the latest films and stuff. And it's also going to be part of the Flight of the Falcon series of books that are coming later this year. So keep an eye out for that.
Oh, cool. That sounds like fun. How about you, Liz?
Well, I have my sort of my lab series. I have Kitchen Science Lab for Kids, Outdoor Science Lab for Kids. My one that came out this summer was STEAM Lab for Kids. And I'm working on a 4th book for that series, but I can't really say what it is right now. But I will say that it's, I think kids will really like it. It's something that will be appealing to kids who like to eat their science experiments. So that's what I'll say about it.
Oh, nice cliffhanger. Yeah. I like it. We were at a local Office Max getting school supplies today, and we saw a couple of your books on the shelves there. So we'll definitely be looking forward to both of those projects. Well, thank you so much for joining me and sharing with us your passion for kids and Star Wars and creating. How can people connect with you?
Liz?
Paul? Oh, Okay, you can find me. My website is kitchenpantryscientist.com. I have a YouTube channel, Kitchen Pantry Scientist. On Twitter, I'm at Kitchen Pantry Sci, and on Instagram, I'm Liz Heinecke. So I really need to work on my branding, apparently. Kind of all over the place.
and I'm easy. ColeHorton.com, on Twitter and Instagram at Cole Horton. I'm just me.
That's way better.
Well, thank you again, Liz and Cole. And we'll be back right after this with more Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Thrawn Alliances and Most Wanted to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now. It's morning and you're almost out of coffee, but no worries because you're a subscriber to One Nation Coffee. They have a subscription service that guarantees you'll get all the coffee you need right when you need it. And of course, they are the official brew of Coffee with Kenobi. It smells amazing and tastes even better. Check out www.onenationcoffee.com to set up a coffee subscription and help your morning get started off the right way. I also want to take this opportunity to thank MEI and Mouse Fan Travel for always helping me make my travel experiences the most pain-free and positive they can possibly be. One thing I love about MEI and Mouse Fan Travel is that they know the best hotels, the best restaurants, they can get you there for the cheapest price, and that's pretty great, right? But you can also talk to them, and they can customize your vacation however you want to do it. And it's not only just any vacation, it's their signature thing is, of course, the Disney theme parks and the cruise line. They help you plan every detail. They share invaluable tips. They have helped me tremendously. So be sure to go to www.mousefantravel.com today and let them know Coffee with Kenobi sent you. Okay, it's been a great show so far, but we can't have this show without talking to Mike Moreci about his amazing work that he's been doing. As many of you know who heard Mike on earlier, I guess it was around Christmas time, wasn't it, Mike, that you were on before?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah,
just a little before.
Yeah, and then that was the first time you and I met and got to chat. And fortunately, as often happens with the show, people who come on end up becoming friends of us and in our Coffee with Kenobi family, and we're very grateful for that. But you have, of course, Black Star Renegades, phenomenal hit. It's taken you really all over the place. Before we get into what you're doing now, tell me about what it's been like promoting Black Star Renegades and seeing this thing that you wrote become just so much more than you ever dreamed. It's just, and it's well deserved. It's an awesome book. I've talked about it before. I love it. Just super, super cool. I'm really happy for you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, I never anticipated all this. You know, when this whole thing started, you know, it was just me writing this book that was, you know, inspired by the thing that I love the most, which is, you know, Star Wars. And, you know, I'm grateful that it's resonating with people and people like it. I think that people recognize like, hey, this is just a fun space adventure that's, you know, I like to think stands on its own, but it's also reminiscent of Star Wars, which, you know, strikes a chord with a great many people. So yeah, I mean, people have found it, and it's been really cool seeing what has it been, like 7-8 months it's been out for now, like people connect with it, and I'm glad. I mean, it's coming out in paperback soon, which I think I'm personally very excited for because I think it makes it more accessible, which is something that I personally endorse. So I'm looking forward to like a new opportunity to meet new people. And yeah, I mean, it's been cool. It's been a great 7 months, a very unexpected 7 months, but I'm definitely been happy with it. And, you know, just grateful people are enjoying it.
So what is one of the highlights you've had as far as the promotional tour went?
Let's see.
Besides being on the show, of course.
Of course. Yes, of course. Yeah. I mean, one of the things, honestly, like the whole Star Wars community, like it's weird because I've always been a fan. Like I've listened to your show and I've listened to Top Shelf with Tarkin and I listened to so many others, and to be on the other side has been like really cool. And like everyone's so welcoming and so cool. I was very nervous that people would be like, who is this guy writing this knockoff fiction? And but everybody's embraced the book with open arms and like seeing it for what it is and seeing it like a work of love and really, really crafted with care for what it's trying to be. And the community's been awesome. Like, we're lucky. I mean, like we have a really, really great community of, podcasters and writers and people have blogs and, all sorts of different outlets for Star Wars out there. And to connect with that in a deeper way, in a more meaningful way has been really, really cool.
Oh, I agree. And it's pretty cool too, because we were on, of course, Randy, of course, is co-hosting the shows. And honestly, Randy, you didn't know I was going to do this, but I want to make sure that everybody knows what a great, selfless, kind person Randy is. And he promotes everyone passionately and without any lack of energy whatsoever. And really, Star Wars is a lot better off for you, Randy. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Dan. That's kind. That's awesome.
Hey, it's easy to speak the truth. I mean, it's totally true. Now, let's talk about something else that's awesome. Batman, right? Now, Batman is, of course, not in the Star Wars universe, but if he was, the Empire would be in a lot more trouble than they are in the original trilogy. But Mike got to write Batman, and not once, but multiple times, and who knows what the future is going to hold. Mike, tell me about that. Like, when you found out you were going to write him and kind of what went through your mind and just everything about it. I think it's so cool.
Oh, thanks. So there's two different sides to this. So there's like so I wrote Detective Comics, and so I wrote that actually like about 1.5 to 2 years ago, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you first found out that you were doing it, though, were you just floored?
Oh, I was like out of my mind with excitement. I mean, and it was cool because so DC does these things. I think Marvel does too. They're called inventory issues, where basically if the creative team for some reason stumbles or they're doing a change in teams or something, if they have any gap, they have these issues that are like, when I wrote it, it was illustrated right away. It was done. It's been done for some time, like completely done. So if they have this gap, then they can slide one of these stories in. They're designed to be standalone stories that don't connect to anything going on in like the current universe, because that could change at a whim, right? So they offer me this thing, and after I kind of like regained consciousness, I decided to write, the Batman that I love, which is from the Batman I grew up on too, which is like that early to mid 90s, Legends of the Dark Knight, Kelly Jones, Nightfall, all that kind of like gothic-y Batman. Oh, yeah. Because part of me assumed no one was ever going to read. I was like, well, it's an inventory. These things never come out. And then here we are. It got put out, and I'm glad it did. But, I just wrote it. I think that's how you should write most things, actually, is like, don't write it for anything but yourself in a certain sense. But
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, because you never know who's going to like what or why or so yeah, that was the one thing. And then, a few months ago, I got paired with the great Jeff Parker to write a very different Batman, a less gothic Batman in Batman 66, which, as we all know, is the Adam West, the legendary Adam West Batman, and them crossing paths with the Riverdale gang in Archie. So it's Archie meets Batman 66, which is just so much fun.
It was great read. It's super fun. I mean, you're talking about two fun eras, and plus it's got, obviously Riverdale has much more of a very dark edge to it, but at its core, it was just a fun thing that we grew up with. And of course, Batman 66, who among us has not loved singing that song and watching those old shows? Did you have to do research for that? Did you pull out the old Adam West DVDs?
Oh, I had to. It's the thing, they have such a strange cadence, like the way, we know the alliteration, but like Batman talks in such a strange, Jeff Parker actually put it best, is like, he is really, really earnest. But the thing is, like, when you're writing it, you can't make fun of his earnestness, like, because it's not funny, like, it's not a joke to him, like, he's legitimately like earnest. And I think that's like one of the best lessons I learned from Jeff, who's written Batman 66 for quite a while now. And it's true, he's just there's no better word. He's just earnest. And I think if you're making fun of that, you're doing it wrong. And so I wanted to capture, how Batman talks in that way. And it was challenging, but it was like I had to watch a lot of episodes to really understand this very specific way that Batman and Robin talks. I mean, Robin is kind of just silly with like alliteration and getting overexcited awesome very puns, easily. Yeah, bad puns. Yeah. So yeah, it was a happy endeavor to go and pull out some of those old episodes and just remember how zany and just how great those were.
And how many times you had to decide how many times Robin's going to take his closed fist and hit his open palm.
That's I specifically wrote that like at the end of issue 1 is when they make contact with the Batcave, and I was like, make sure you draw Robin with the fist and palm.
Oh yeah. Well, in my I was telling you before we recorded, but my son was reading and he goes, "Daddy, this is the Joker. Daddy, there's Penguin." And it's kind of a greatest hits, but you didn't only have that. But is it daunting to have to voice the Archie gang and just sort of find them? I mean, they're not necessarily as complex as Batman, of course, but still they're beloved characters.
Yeah, they're a little easier, I feel like, because it's a little bit less, I don't know, I guess you can say stylized, but like,
not as much gravitas either.
Yeah, exactly. Like there you can be kind of like, it's like Batman is hokey, but he's not meaning to be hokey, but Archie is very like, and purposefully hokey and silly and stuff like that. So you can kind of just like really, really embrace your instincts to like treat it as humor. And that's really what it's supposed to be. And yeah, that was fun too. Like, I mean, Jeff, and I go back to this a lot. He has such a really, really good way at capturing character voices. So I definitely learned a lot from him, and it's weird because we're actually almost done at 6 issues and we're writing 5 right now.
Oh wow, time goes really fast. I do want to talk to you about Comic-Con and the announcement there that is related to you and Star Wars. But before we get to that, we talked a lot last week about Clone Wars, of course, and we talked about Ashley on this show. But what are you guys? What was your reaction when you heard about Clone Wars? I know Randy. We tried to make something work the day of the announcement, but when you're at Comic-Con, it's impossible to just
totally get it
for air anywhere. But you had a great show. Tell us kind of about your reactions to the Clone Wars announcement.
I was floored. I couldn't believe it. Mike, you had said earlier, like it's almost impossible to make everybody happy, but I think this is one of the few exceptions. Clone Wars kind of breaks that rule. Like, that's how I felt when I first heard the announcement, and then I saw the trailer, and then I did finally see the panel. I thought it was a genius move. There has been negative press. There's been a lot of negativity in Star Wars. But I don't think there's a single thing that could unite the Star Wars fandom as quickly and effectively as, the rest of the Clone Wars series. I mean, it was complete. You could have pushed me over with a feather. I'm still speechless. I was speechless and so excited. And after a few hours, I started to see, okay, that's why that explains why all of a sudden, James Arnold Taylor, a week before that started randomly posting on his YouTube channel, Clone Wars stuff. And I thought that was weird. Like that's kind of out of nowhere, I guess maybe because of the 10-year anniversary. And then I play Force Arena on my phone, and all of a sudden there's Clone Wars stuff coming up on that. And I'm like, that's strange. And so now, looking back, I could see where this was a little bit telegraphed, but I'm so happy with it. And I have so many thoughts on what I want to see. And I have thoughts on, what I think they're going to show. And so,
pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. But I guess I could we could do a whole episode just on that, but I know you've already had a ton of conversation about that, especially since you were there. So.
Well, no, still, and again, a plug. Make sure if you haven't already done so, download Randy's conversation with Alex Damon of Star Wars Explained, where they talk about that news, because that was super fun to listen to. I'm sure it was fun to record as well.
Yeah, it was, because we were both, it was less than maybe an hour old, and I was just looking, somebody talk to me quick. So I found a friend to talk.
We tried, but it just...
We did. And I know, man, you must have been, your phone must have been on fire with text messages and conversations while you're there. I mean, no, I totally get it.
It was fun. It was fun living it with everybody. You know what I mean? Like just having that moment, that seismic ripple that went throughout fandom. It was pretty spectacular, and I agree. It was something that I just didn't hear too many people complaining about it. Mike, what was your reaction?
Well, I think Randy's right. I mean, I think that we've had some troubled waters in the Star Wars universe, as we know, but like, if you wanted to get a slam dunk, I don't think there's anything that would have been better than this. Cause I don't know about you guys. I never thought this would happen.
No, I did not either.
I thought Disney just like when they pulled the plug on the Cartoon Network and they didn't let it finish and run its course, or not even Cartoon Network, but I think it was Netflix at that point, or whoever was producing the episodes. I thought they were done. I'm thrilled. I didn't believe it at first, and I'm thrilled because there's so much stuff that I want to see that we've all seen kicked around that was supposed to happen, and that now I'm guessing these are things that are going to happen, and that's incredible. I just can't wait, and I think it's a great way to bring the streaming service to really to bring it to life for Star Wars fans. So I think it's perfect. I just can't imagine anybody having an issue with this.
Right.
Oh, it's wonderful. And I'm noticing, I know StarWars.com is going to start doing a weekly thing, kind of rewatching them. And I've been debating what we're going to do on Coffee with Kenobi with it. So stay tuned for that. We will definitely be, of course, reviewing those shows when they come out. I mean, it's going to be a ball. It's going to be so much fun. And we've been talking about Comic-Con, and before we sign off for today's show, Mike, you had some pretty exciting news to come out of Comic-Con related to Star Wars as well.
I did. Yeah.
Putting it mildly, yeah.
Yeah. There's no better, I guess, no better definition of a dream come true. I mean, it's literally what I want to do my whole life. But yes, I'm writing some Star Wars, some official canon Star Wars, which I didn't even know was going to be announced. That was actually took me by surprise a little bit. So no, it's part of the. I'm sure you guys know the Flight of the Falcon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the storyline that they're doing. So I'm doing comics with IDW that. So there's the 2 middle grade novels that are coming out, and then the Flight of the comic component, which is what I'm handling, are stories like same format as the novel, told through Bazine Natal's perspective, where she's hunting down the Falcon for a mysterious. She was hired by a mysterious person, I'll say, and so my story is traces. I think the first one. This is all still kind of. Pending Lucasfilm approval, but the first one's going to start right after Solo, and then the 5 stories will trace all the way to, depending on how things go, right around Last Jedi, potentially after Last Jedi.
Wow. Very cool. Well, my goodness. So we'll definitely have you on when those come out. And are you allowed to say when the first issue's coming out?
Yeah, it's September. It's
wow.
So yeah, it's all happening
just in time for my birthday. Well, that was nice of you.
Oh yeah, no, that's what Michael Sickling says. You know what, we got to get this for September.
I'm stoked. And I know Randy's obviously he co-hosts Legends Library. Randy's an avid, passionate Star Wars reader too. So we are thrilled, man. We're happy for you, and we're happy to get more Star Wars. What a cool thing.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I just can't even put it into words almost. I'm still kind of processing this actually happening and stuff. So, but it's a cool story. I think it's something that I would have loved because it's for kids. It's something I would have loved when I was a kid. It's there's a map that'll trace the Falcon's path, and you can kind of follow it through the story. Just it's a cool thing for kids, for all ages, really. But awesome. I would have loved that when I was a kid, and I think it's going to be a ton of fun to revisit some of the legends of, you know, arguably the greatest ship in the history of fiction, I guess.
Oh, I agree. It's definitely my favorite. Randy, what's your favorite Star Wars vehicle? I don't think I've ever asked you that. What's your favorite ship?
Oh man, you know what? I really like the B-wing. You know, especially after the episode in
Wings
Rebels.
of the Masters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how that, you know, how the different points on the ship kind of form into one laser or whatever. I thought that was really. I've always liked the B-wing. I like the you know, the AT-AT and, you know, that kind of stuff as well. But I don't know. It's hard to argue. I mean, there is no greater ship. I mean, maybe some people might argue that, well, it's the Enterprise, you know, Starship Enterprise, but the Falcon is the Falcon. It's like a classic Mustang. I mean, it's right. It's just, it's too big, too awesome, especially after the Solo movie. It's just too big and too awesome. And how it was presented. We can all agree,
not a character.
Oh, now I'm not going to, I promised myself I would not get into an argument with you. Yes, I agree with you, Dan.
The perennial debate. No, I don't want, you don't have to agree with me.
No. Well, hey, you know, Mike, I've said this so many times, you know, talking to different people that are creatives, and one of the things that I always appreciate the most about those that have the privilege and the honor of creating for Star Wars and for the Star Wars galaxy or Star Wars universe is almost to the person. You can hear the fandom and the excitement in their, I guess, you know, in their creativity. And I sure think that's cool, because I think there's so many people that would love to have an opportunity to do what you're doing, but excuse me, but just to hear your fandom in it, it just makes me so happy. So congratulations and good for you, man. I love to hear that enthusiastic fandom in your creativity.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks. I mean, I feel like I've been working towards this my entire life, you know, and it's weird. It's the first time like talking about it, and like I can barely even get the words out. Like so excited and just like so thrilled, and it's surreal, but like I'm just, I don't know, immensely grateful, and I can't believe I actually get to do this. So it's, you know, I, like Dan said, I've been lucky. You know, I've been able to write Batman and Flash, and, you know, I've been able to do cool stuff. But like this is Star Wars, man. Like this is.
Well, and honestly, like, I mean, yes, you've been lucky, but I think you have made your own luck, because you've worked hard, you've had a goal, you've had a dream, and you pursued it relentlessly. And you took on challenges and you continue to rise to them. So you made this happen, man. Good on you.
Oh, well, man. Well, thank you, man. That's very, very kind. I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll always like, you know, accept credit for is just hard work. You know, I think I work incredibly hard. So at least I'm like, you know, I know I at least can say work-wise, in terms of like the dedication, the time, I feel like I've earned it in terms of that. So that's something I at least can say, like, okay, I feel good that at least I've like gotten to that place to like just never ever quitting. Even when there's many opportunities where it's like, maybe I should because I'm driving myself crazy.
No, and it's great. It's so cool. It's so cool also to be able to chat with both of you. Guys, it's been wonderful having you on Coffee with Kenobi this week. Where can people find you and find your work, and go ahead and say hello to you if they want to ask you any questions or anything like that? And Randy, let's start with you.
Well, you can reach Luke and I on Twitter at Legends Library. You can always throw us an email as well at legendslibrary@coffeewithkenobi.com.
Yeah, Mike, what about you?
I on Twitter, just at Michael Moreci. Instagram, I think it's the same, and I have my website, michaelpmoreci.com, and all my contact info is on there. So I try to be as accessible as possible.
Fantastic. Let's go ahead and take our last break, and when we come back, we will close out the show. And I've got an email for you as well. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is...
Before we get to email, I want to thank our CWK sponsors, Penguin Random House Audio, One Nation Coffee, Harry's Razors, and Mouse Fan Travel. Please support them the way they support our podcast. And remember to listen to new and archive shows of Coffee with Kenobi wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Spreaker, Overcast, Blog Talk Radio, Player FM, or our website, www.coffeewithkenobi.com. And if you listen to the show through iTunes, please leave us a review. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, and Tumblr, and we'd love for you to check us out there. Also, be sure to listen to our CWK family of shows, including Legends Library, Rebels Reactions, Comics with Kenobi, and Lattes with Leia. Please leave a review for each of their shows as well, and be sure to subscribe to each of them individually, as they all have their own feeds now. From Gar Van Orden, Dan and Friends, I really enjoyed the discussion on Kira. When I first saw the film, the ending affected me like it did many. I thought, oh, she betrayed Han. I knew she was dirty. Holy crap, Maul. But now I see it a lot different. I've seen the movie 7 times so far, and each time I see it, I realize how beautifully romantic and tragic her, quote, betrayal, end quote, is. Because it's not a betrayal at all. She clearly still loves him, even though 3 can see that. But the only reason she doesn't go with Han is because she doesn't see a way that she can. Put yourself in Kira's shoes. If I knew Maul was Dryden's boss when all of that went down in his office, as much as I'd love to go off and be free, I know that it would only be a matter of time before Maul figured out what happened, hunted us down, and killed us. She knows there is only 2 choices: escape with Han and Chewie only to be killed later, or let Han go free as she continued to be entrapped by Crimson Dawn. She sacrificed her love for their lives. I almost cried the last time I saw her pull away in that ship because she looks at Han in such a way that seems to say, this breaks my heart to do this, but it's the only way. I just wanted to say that. I always love the show. Keep up the great work. Thanks. Gar, wow, that's beautiful. I never thought about it from a sacrificial perspective. I mean, I did, but not the idea that if she doesn't do it, Maul's going to go after them and we know who's going to win that one. That's brilliant. I don't know why we didn't talk about that before, but that is absolutely correct. And I'd love to hear what Lisa Dillard thinks about this. Lisa, of course, is our media manager at Coffee with Kenobi, and she has seen Solo, I think, 17 times at the time of this recording. So, Lisa, I want to know what you think about Kira too. Gar, thanks for opening our minds to that. That's brilliant. Hi, Dan. After only 18 short years as a middle school ELA teacher, I've been reassigned to high school. Therefore, I'm amassing materials for a Hero's Journey / Beowulf unit. I plan to use your article on studying Skywalkers where I looked at Excalibur and the lightsaber this year with my 10R English class. I'm sure you can figure out how I will segue to Beowulf. I found a few connections already. Indian epic from 3,000 years away, Akira Kurosawa, and of course, Arthurian legend. But if you know of other cultural inspirations behind the movies, I'll gladly take suggestions. Thanks, and may the Force be with you. Carolyn, thank you for that. I love when teachers reach out to me and talk about the things that we've put out on the web or things that I've talked about when I'm using teaching in Star Wars. It's been a great combining my 2 passions. And Carolyn, you've got some major connections there as well. For me, the main thing I try to connect with my students when I'm using Star Wars is that culture and mythology are crucial to storytelling because through these moments, we're able to tell what we value as a culture and as a people. And I think there's just so many things in all of these movies, really most movies in general, but especially in Star Wars, that you can pick out and say, ooh, these are obviously cultural moments that are paramount to what we believe, as well as things that we see that are so important to not emulate or to try to follow because they lead to the dark side, right? The dark path. The quick and easy way is always the bad way. And that's a hard thing for students sometimes to grasp because, you know, hard work is hard. But that's part of growing up and being mature. Another great thing I think you can do is you can use this as a research opportunity or a metacognitive opportunity or have students look at things that they think they see connections in. And they can be things from modern times as well as stuff over the past 20, 30 years, 40 years. It's a great research opportunity. It's a great way to get them incorporated into the assignment and the lesson and to give them a little bit of ownership too. And I think that will bring it alive for them. It'll be really, really fun to see what kind of connections they make. And be sure to let me know because I would be fascinated to find out. Carolyn, thank you so much for writing and good luck on your high school transition. I'm sure you will love it. I love teaching high school so much. A big thank you to Michael Moreci and Randy Therio for joining me today. It's always great to talk to those two. I also want to thank the great Ashley Eckstein for coming back to Coffee with Kenobi, as well as to Tom for his interview of Cole Horton and Liz Heinecke. And I really want to know what you want me to do about Clone Wars. How do you want me to handle getting ready for the new season, which starts next year? We're not sure of the time or the date yet, so hopefully we'll get that. I don't know. I don't imagine we'll get it for a while, but I really have no idea. What I do know is that I'm really excited, and I think this is a great time to revisit the Clone Wars, which is what I want to do for a while anyway. So please let me know how you want Coffee with Kenobi to cover it. I did a couple of Clone Wars for a while where I wrote some pretty in-depth stuff about each episode. I think I got about 6 or 7 in, and I love doing it, but it was extremely time-consuming because I put a lot into it. And I don't mind doing that again, but I think it might be fun to talk about it on the show, whether it's specifically a segment on each show here or little spin-off shows that come out randomly. I don't know. Just kind of let me know what you think. We will be back next week with 2 new co-hosts and more Star Wars discussion. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here.